Jeff Rowe from Two Hacks Garage. Well, I tell you what, guys, this is another one of those from the archives video. I kind of gave a hint last week. I shared a post with two original photos that I have up at Kyle's shop. Here's one of them. And here's the other one. Well, in that picture, it had a Pontiac GTO, a Tiger, and a rock and roll band. From there, I asked a simple question. Well, maybe not so simple, but does anybody know who that band is and what the story is behind those pictures? Tell you what, I got some really interesting answers on that. Mummies, pre-bandage era, Rodney and the Brunettes, 1978, Ronnie and the Daytonas, Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, and I think the funniest one I saw, obviously it was in jest, Slipknot without the masks. Those were all wrong. This is a trip down obscurity. What does a GTO, a Tiger, and rock and roll have in common? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you that. I might be a Mopar guy at heart with a small block Chevy powered dragster and a big block Ford powered drag car. But you know what, guys? I do have a soft spot for the Pontiacs, especially in the early years with their really awesome and amazing advertising they had. By the way, Jason from Indirect Connection, he actually got it right. This band is called the Tigers, and here's the story behind those photos. Before we move on to the obscure world of rock and roll and Pontiac advertising, I do want to provide a little bit of background. I'm a history buff, and well, guys, this is a From the Archives video. We all know in 1964, if you want to call the first muscle car that came out, was the Pontiac GTO based upon the Le Mans line. Quickly, when that thing came out, enthusiasts really loved it. Jim Wangers of Pontiac, who was a big driver behind the GTO and an absolute marketing genius, he decided to come up with an ad campaign and nicknamed the GTO the Tiger. That marketing campaign ran through 1966. It was shown in a lot of different magazine articles, and here are some examples over here of some of that advertising. But it was also shown on television and commercials, a record album, as we're going to discuss here pretty soon, and also some neat things they did at the drag strip, which we'll touch on later. However, owner and enthusiast mixed the letters around in very creative ways to come up with some nicknames on their own. GTO, like the Great One, or what we see today as the GOAT. I don't know about you guys, I kind of like the Tiger name, but the GOAT is also pretty cool. With that, you know what, before we move on to that, I do want to show you something absolutely neat. Marketing is obviously the name of the game. In 1964, the muscle car was new. There's the Pontiac GTO. You couldn't market it like you did everything else. Yeah, there were some high performance stuff before that, but it wasn't marketed as a muscle car. So who was the muscle car really aimed at? Well, people that were young, people that wanted to go fast, and people that wanted to do it somewhat on a budget. You had to appeal to the youth. So you know what, guys? When you walked into a dealership, you didn't want to see the same old boring stuff. Well, that's where marketing comes in, and in 1964, Pontiac had a really cool promotional thing going on. If you look right here, here's the letter sent in 1964 to dealerships letting them know their promotional marketing material for the Tiger campaign was officially kicking off. Some of the items they were getting were Tiger window trim, Tiger tail bumper stripes, that iconic grrr front license plate, and a Tiger antenna flag. Speaking of marketing, let's get on to the subject at hand. The Tigers and their awesome, obscure, hot rod one-hit wonder in the muscle car world. Before we touch on who the Tigers actually were, I do want to touch on something real quick. I did talk about marketing in 1964, beginning with the muscle car GTO and the Tiger. However, in 1963, there were a few ads for the Pontiac Tempest that did mention a Tiger. Here are a few examples right there. Along with that, a tire company called Uniroyal, they started marketing a Tiger called none other than the Tiger Paw, the Uniroyal Tiger Paw. And as if you can see in this ad right here, that sure does look like a GTO. Kind of makes you wonder. Along with that, well, a gasoline company called Esso, they also started marketing their fuel based upon the Tiger. And there's an ad right there that shows that. And you know what, guys? Just kind of makes you wonder, were they playing off on the muscle car theme with the GTO and the Tiger campaign? You know what? It sure does look like it. Speaking of that, if you think about a Tiger, Pontiac always had their Y-Track campaign, and that Y-Track campaign, you know what? That is also kind of like a Tiger on the prowl. Now, Speaking of Tigers, let's get into that obscure rock and roll band, one-hit wonder of the 1960s, the Tigers. It was a US-based band in the 1960s, and it's known for their promo song for the Pontiac, the GeeTo Tigers and the Tiger Prowl. You know what? I tried to find other stuff, and I really couldn't find anything else on that. The band consisted of Barry Hockenberger, who was the lead vocals and also played the organ. Neil Mosier was the lead guitar. Jerry Cervenka was on drums. Enzo Piazza was on bass guitar. And if you look at that photo right there, that is actually a real photo that I have up at Kyle's shop. Gave it to him as a gift, and that is actually signed by him. John Anderson, well, he was the guy on the rhythm guitar. It was managed by a guy named Paul Pierrette. And you know what? I looked him up too, and I just couldn't quite find much on it. So I'm just going to say this band, very obscure, 1960s US-based band. And you know what, guys? Definitely a one-hit wonder. Now let's check out the two albums that were out there. All right, guys, on to the fun part. We're actually going to show you what these albums were. Did I say albums? Yes, there were actually two, and I'm going to explain to you what both of those are. I happen to have both of them. I like these type of collectibles. These are kind of hard to find, and I tell you what, they're funky, really cool. You can definitely tell it's 60s marketing, and you know what? That's the type of stuff I like. Yes, like I said, there's two versions. There's that one there, and there's that one right there. Yep, we're going to get to that in just a second. First off, these were both 7-inch 33 and RPM singles released by Colpix. They were released in 1965. The first version was 2 sides, 2 tracks. The songs by the Tigers were the GeeTo Tiger and the GeeTo Prowl. Kind of corny, but it's actually pretty cool. The second album was part of a promo marketing ad campaign that they had to give away a car. Yep, you got that right. They were actually going to give away the GeeTo Tiger. What was the GeeTo Tiger? Well, it was a car that Jim Wangers, Hurst, and Royal Pontiac put together. It was a 1965 GTO, painted in that special Hurst gold paint job. It came with a 389 tri-power set up from Royal Pontiac, a gold 4-speed plated Hurst shifter, and those iconic gold-plated Hurst gold wheels. Now, after this part of the video, I'm going to actually show you those cars. Part of this campaign was actually done in correlation with Peterson Publication to really promote it. And they had a magazine article in CarCraft, and you know what? I happen to have this too. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you these articles at the end of the video when I play these awesome albums for you. Like I said, the second album was a little bit different. It did have the GeeTo Tiger song on it, but instead of having the GeeTo Tiger Prowl, it actually had a thing on the back where you could go in there to enter to win that GeeTo Tiger. They had ads like this to be able to do it, but if you got one of these, it clearly says how to become an entry to be winning the Tiger. So here you go. Let me read this to you real quick. Announcing a fabulous 100 prize GeeTo Tiger contest, offering as a grand prize the car that inspired the record, the original GeeTo Tiger. And we're going to show you that car. No entry blank is needed, and the contest has only 2 easy to do steps. 1, list the number of times the word Tiger can be heard on this Colpix recording of the GeeTo Tiger. 2, tell in 25 words or less why I'd like to win the original GeeTo Tiger. That's all it takes to be in running for one of these. Grand prize, 65 GTO hardtop with all the performance options adding included Hurst accessories and tigerized interior. Second and third prizes each a full set of Hurst custom wheels. Fourth and fifth each a Hurst 4-speed floor shifter. Sixth and seventh each a Hurst 3-speed floor shifter. 8th, 9th, and 10th each an auto stereo unit installed with 15 pre-selected tape cartridges. That sounds very interesting. I wonder if they had this on a tape cartridge. That's something I'm going to have to find out. Plus, 30 pre-selected record libraries, 10 Colpix albums each, and 12 one-year subscriptions to each of the following: CarCraft, Motor Trend, Hot Rod, Rod and Custom, and Teen magazines. A grand total of 100 prizes in all. The contest is being conducted by Hurst, one of the greatest names in speed and custom equipment. Entries should be mailed to Hurst GeeTo Tiger Contest, Hurst Performance Products, Box X509, Department R, 341 West Glenside Avenue, Glenside, Pennsylvania. Deadline is midnight, July 31st, 1965. Speaking of that 1965 GeeTo Tiger, let's take a look at that and see what really made it special. Marketing truly is king. As you can see in this ad here for the 1965 GTO, it talks about the giveaway program. Speaking of the giveaway program, you're probably wondering, well, who won the car? Well, that was a 19-year-old kid named Alex Lampone of West Allis, Wisconsin. It was delivered to him at the NHRA Indy Nationals by none other than George Hurst himself. That had to have been an experience any 19-year-old, anybody in that matter, would absolutely love. The car is still around. It has been restored, and it only has about 59,000 miles on it. It's been in multiple private collections. You know what, guys? I think right now what we need to do is take a look at that car, the GeeTo Tiger, the original, as we listen to the original GeeTo Tiger song.
First in town, meet him Tiger, meet him Tiger. She's got a Hurst floor shifter and the wildest screaming Miller around. Call him Tiger, call him Tiger. I mean a 389 all super tuned to really shut him down. GeeTo Tiger, drag strip, GeeTo bluff, on the street, GeeTo stuff, GTO, that's enough. Listen to her growl, she's always on the prowl. GeeTo Tiger, go. She's got a wide track action on her groovies and a red line tire. GeeTo Tiger, transistorized ignition and a power pack of 3-deuce car. Call Tiger, and she chews up other cars, yeah, 426 gold car. GeeTo Tiger, drag strip, GeeTo bluff, on the street, GeeTo stuff, GTO, that's enough. Listen to her growl, she's always on the prowl. GeeTo Tiger, go. You gotta fasten your seatbelts and we'll make it to the drags on time. We're going hunting for a Mustang or a dual quad 409. We're gonna shoot them all down before they even get off the line. Drag strip, GeeTo bluff, on the street, GeeTo stuff, GTO, that's enough. Listen to her growl, she's always on the prowl. GeeTo Tiger, listen to her growl, she's always on the prowl. GeeTo Tiger, listen to her growl, she's always on the prowl. GeeTo Tiger, go, 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 go.
Pretty freaking awesome car right there. Kind of wish I was that 19-year-old kid in 1965 winning that car because, you know, it's truly iconic. First muscle car, really first muscle car advertising campaign. And I'm telling you what, that one-hit wonder by the Tigers was pretty funky. One-hit wonder rock and roll for back in the day. With that, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and play the other song, the Tiger Prowl, and I'm going to get into the GM Proving Grounds part of it, which is really funky, and you can definitely tell it's 1960s. However, it's pretty neat. But before I want to do that, the GeeTo Tiger campaign, it didn't stop. In 1966, Jim Wangers actually had a really brilliant idea to get car owners and enthusiasts into the seat of a GTO. He partnered with Royal Pontiac on two 1966 389 tri-power 4-speed GTOs that were prepped by Royal Pontiac, and he had a campaign of drag racing to beat the Tiger. Yes, to beat the Tiger. So there was different drag strips across the country that hosted these two cars, and here's a picture of it right there. And the whole thing is people were picked randomly to go to a drag strip and race one of the GeeTo Tigers against the Tiger. Yes, there was actually a guy dressed as a tiger in the opposing GTO, which were two identical cars, but one was black and one was white, to beat the Tiger. Absolutely brilliant advertising and marketing to get people into those GTOs. Leave it up to Jim Wangers, leave it up to Pontiac. The beginning of the muscle car era really came off with a bang, even though it was with the one-hit wonder. Oh, and mind you, those GTOs that were prepped by Royal Pontiac, 389 tri-power 4-speed, yeah, back then they ran in the low 12s. Hope you enjoyed it. Now it's time to get to the rest of the awesome Tigers and the GM Proving Grounds.
Hi. Hope you haven't been waiting long. Let's see, where's that car we want? Ah, there it is. It's that special gold hardtop over there next to the blue Bonneville, number 36. It's the one we call the GeeTo Tiger. As you can see, it's got rally wheels and red line tires on it. Let's get in, huh? You better use your belt. We're going to do some pretty tough testing. Well, I hope this baby has the equipment we wanted. Let's see, it ought to be listed on this card hooked to the sun visor. Yeah, we got the big engine, 360 horses, 390-to-1 safety track rear end, close ratio 4-speed stick with a 220-to-1 first gear, and a Hurst floor shift. Say, how do you like this wood steering wheel? Even feels like wood, but can I tell you, it really isn't wood. It's better than wood, as a matter of fact, and it won't splinter like wood does either. And over here, we've got the two-way radio. You see, while on test here at the General Motors Proving Grounds, we're in constant radio communication with Pontiac Central Control. Let's see if we can get them now. Pontiac Test Control Center. This is Pontiac Engineering Test Car 36.
Yeah, 36, you're all clear for trials. Use the ride and handling loop, circular high-speed track, east-west straightaway, and the skid pad. When you get to the ride and handling loop, let me have your engine temperature, oil temperature, and pressure, and drop your exhaust.
Control, this is 36. We've just reached blacktop. Speed 50, very little tire noise. Up to 60, handling perfect. Gonna take her up to 70. We're coming to the torsion bumps and washboard now. I'm getting a little vertical sheet metal shake from front corners of the hood. No dancing though. Slight shock over the washboard. Approaching railroad track. Rebound normal with slight bottoming on the tracks. I'm now at the end of the ride and handling loop and heading for the high-speed circular track. Over. Car 36 now at the access road.
Okay, 36. Test car number 34, white GP, is just about at the 2.5 mile marker and doing 95. Proceed slowly to the track entrance. As soon as 34 passes you, you have 20 seconds to enter and accelerate to your approved test speed. Remember, 36, you're only cleared for 110 mile an hour.
Here we go. There's 100. 105. 107. 110. Hello, control, car 36, holding at 110. No sway, no sheet metal flutter. Control, this is 36. Just completed 10 laps at 110 miles per hour. How about clearance to leave the circular track?
You're all clear, 36. Proceed to the east-west straightaway to start brake fade testing.
Car 36 holding at 100. Mark. Mark. Brake line pressure was at 1850 psi.
You brake from 100 to 0 in 4.5 seconds. Start next test when ready.
Well, there's 20 of them.
That's it for brake testing. Pull around to the East Super for your acceleration runs, 36. A crew is waiting there to install your fifth wheel.
Hello, control, this is 36. Fifth wheel in position, ready to start acceleration tests.
Okay, 36. You will run a series of standing quarter-mile runs. Start when ready.
Mark. Mark, quarter mile, 102.5 miles per hour.
That was a good run, 36. You turned the quarter in 14.1. Prepare for second acceleration series now, 36. 36, that's it for today. Head back to the Pontiac garage for inspection.
Roger. You know, after all this testing, slowing down to the speed limits on our access roads almost seems like we're standing still, doesn't it? You know, we have speed limits here at the Proving Grounds, just like the public roads. And we're proud to say that the GM Proving Grounds is probably the safest place in the world to drive. As a matter of fact, since 1958, we haven't lost a single day due to driving injury. Well, that's our GeeTo Tiger. What do you think of it?